My daughter Taylor, a determined, happy, sassy, amazing little girl, when she was diagnosed at the age of 7 with CLN1 Batten disease, it came as a huge shock. This is one of my favorites. The geneticist said, there is nothing you can do, not in Taylor's lifetime and very likely in your own lifetime. There just isn't enough interest in a very small disease. That was absolutely the most hopeless thing we could ever hear. But it lit a fire, and I knew that I had a new goal in life. If I couldn't help my own child, there had to be an answer for families and children who would follow my own.
A rare disease is defined as having fewer than 200,000 patients.
In the United States, in terms of rare disease, it's about 30 million people, or about 10% of the population. There's over 10,000 rare diseases that we know of, and the vast majority of those are single gene disorders.
While there can be some very large patient populations for some of these rare diseases, about 40% of them have fewer than 50 patients. It's very challenging for traditional pharmaceutical development models to address the needs of these small patient populations. And so in most cases, these patients are receiving no new treatments and no hope.
The goal here is to find a fundamentally different way of doing this, to take something that right now is an exceptional endeavor and make it into a routine endeavor. The Bespoke Gene Therapy Consortium allows patients to have hope.
We started seeing seizures, and later in the disease, children with CLN1 disease lose their ability to walk, to talk, and eventually when the disease steals almost everything it can, it will steal a child's life. Even though we understood our realities with the diagnosis, we knew that someone has to stop this disease.
Much of what we regulate at FDA are drugs that are used in thousands of people, and there's the classic way of studying them. Now, if you have a genetic disease that's rare, where there are only 10 new diagnosed patients in the United States each year, you're not going to be seeing randomized controlled trials. At the end of the day, you have to find a different paradigm.
There are only a handful, just 2 or 3 approved gene therapies for heritable rare diseases. That's just not good enough. And that's why I'm so excited about the Bespoke Gene Therapy Consortium, because it's led by the Foundation for the NIH. And it's bringing together this strong partnership of industry, regulatory and analytics groups, the NIH, and importantly, patient communities.
I'd describe it as an effort to standardize and streamline the process of going from an idea for gene therapy to an actual clinical trial.
We can create a repeatable pathway that every gene therapy for a rare disease that comes behind us can follow.
Because if one can use that model, one can use the same manufacturing process potentially over and over again. You can use some of the same regulatory filings over and over again. It decreases cost, increases efficiency, and ultimately gets medicines to patients in need faster.
Some years after Taylor's diagnosis, she wanted to train to run a 5K with her friends. She was blind. She was suffering seizures. I said, "Oh, honey, I don't think you can do this." And she stamped her foot and said, "Oh, yes, I will." 3 months later, she ran a 5K on a cold December day. I think the FNIH is running a great race on behalf of people like my daughter and finding solutions for children like my own, for patients that are living without options, that have little hope. She's a rock star, and everything I do is for Taylor.